So, okay, so and let me know if you feel like I'm moving through these too fast, Misty. If you
You're
feel like I
completely
need to stop
fine.
sometimes.
You're completely fine.
Huh?
You're fine.
Okay, cool. Or if you want to add something, let me know. So the next questions are, what are some things, this is from an anonymous fan. What are some of the things that you wish the boys or the venues or Vegas would do differently for fans like us? If there's anything.
I have a lot to say about Vegas, actually.
Okay.
Vegas is a really difficult venue. Um, it's not difficult in that it's a small venue, and there's a lot of people, and there's only certain designated wheelchair accessibility areas that are there, and they're typically in the back, or
Mm-hmm.
and because it's mostly standing room only, um, more often than not, it's really difficult to see. Even if you're close to the stage, because the stage is so, you know. So I have um, contemplated about doing pit just because I want to be able to be close enough to see the guys and not be surrounded by people's rear ends. When they're standing up
Yeah.
around me and I'm not able to stand. I can stand for short periods of time, but my feet get tired and so I have to sit in my chair. I feel like that there needs to be some sort of a better layout for people in wheelchairs so that they can be kind of maybe on a little bit of a platform so that they can be elevated just enough that they can see and they're not having to fight the crowd. Because pit is not necessarily ideal either, because people get trampled and people get squished and people get, um, most recently I actually did pit in Qtopia. And unfortunately, it was not an ideal situation because it was right next to the stage, but everybody was crammed in and couldn't really see. Um, I'm sorry, I was reading a comment that came in and they asked me something.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just reading a message. So, like, if you, I don't think I'm not listening to you when I'm
No
like,
worries. So I just kind of feel like the Vegas venue itself is just not. It's not ideal for people in wheelchairs, and you have to be very careful and very selective about which one you choose. And as I mentioned before, I kind of diverted off topic for a minute. Qtopia, we were kind of crammed in. I paid for my pit ticket just like everybody else, and we were still smushed in. The security team, um, and also too the security team and the venue people, they don't work with Backstreet Boys. They don't work with artists, so they can't do that. They have to do what their venue and their bosses say. So it's very different.
mhm,
So unfortunately, not
gotcha.
everybody's going to be happy, but definitely want to be able to enjoy the shows just like everyone else. And I have. They're really great. I'm not saying I haven't.
Hmm. I'm a little bit surprised to hear that about Vegas, though, considering that it's like a stationary place that the boys have chosen. I would have assumed that within each section, not saying that like people that are in wheelchairs would have to pay extra money to be in a specific section for them,
Mhm.
but I would have assumed that for each section there might have been a designated area just in case someone needs it. Kind of like at the movie theater now, like if you buy those pre-assigned seats, and if
Mhm.
you buy one that's for someone in a wheelchair, it says there's a disclaimer on it that says if someone comes and needs that space, you might be asked to move. I feel like that should be the case in Vegas, that there should be spots for those people where they're guaranteed to get a good show, because a bad show for someone in a wheelchair, in my experience, is probably going to be worse than a bad show for someone who's not, because I'm not going to be surrounded by asses. I'm a giraffe. I can see over everyone. So I'm not going to have that problem. If I have to stand on my tiptoes every now and again and kind of peek around people, that to me is a bad show.
Mhm.
That is not the same as what would be a bad show. I don't know. I just I hope that that's something that they address. Chanel just sent me a message and said that her experience in Vegas was different, but I'm gonna let her expound on that when it's her turn to talk.
Mhm.
Um, so cool. All right, so that's good to know. Did you have anything else
I
to say about that one before
I
I move on?
actually do want to clarify something. If you're in a
Mm-hmm.
wheelchair and you want to get a really, really good seat, typically the good, areas is 101 and 102.
Okay.
Those are the really, really good areas to go. I got a really good seat my first time going to the show. I was in 101A, and I was practically not in pit, but also not in the table, but I was still close enough that I could see, and I could experience the show for what it was. So if you're in a situation where you need wheelchair accessibility seating, 101, 102, and I think possibly 103 is good. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, that's good information to have. And what I usually do, I haven't edited the video from Thursday's vlog yet, or from Thursday's vlog. I'll probably be editing those two probably at some point tomorrow, or this one and that one tomorrow, or maybe early this week.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like little tips and tidbits like that, I'll be pulling those out to put as like the title of the clip for this video, so it'll be easy information for someone to find later. And I also plan to do a blog post from this video as well. So I'll include that information there too. Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. So what has been your favorite experience as a Backstreet Boys fan at a show? And it doesn't have to be Vegas. It can be anything.
Okay, so I have two experiences. My first experience, all of them are good, but my first experience ever meeting them was on their 20th anniversary. I had gotten a meet and greet thing, and we ended up going because my friend and I are in wheelchairs, and we had a couple of people. We ended up being the last ones to go. So we actually did get a little bit more time with them and get pictures and stuff, and I got to meet Leanne, and I got to hang out with Bailey, and so it was just really cool because everybody had already gone, and so it was just kind of our group of people. There was probably about 6 or 7 of us, and we got to hang out with them for a little bit, not too long, but I imagine that was probably one of the experiences that I did get a little bit more time to spend with them. So that was one of my favorite experiences with them. Another one was when I went to the after party in March. I was with my friends. There was about 5 of us, and we left the show like normal and went to the after party. And one of the things I wanted to clarify with that too is if you're going to the after party and you're in a wheelchair, you want to leave the show earlier. You want to leave probably before the last song ends so that you have time to get in the elevator, up the ramp, down the thing to the venue, and that way you can get next to the stage and see the boys. Otherwise, you're going to be crammed in with everybody else like I was. I got an unwanted lap dance from 2 very drunk people. and then we were crammed in, but Kevin had seen myself and my friends, and put his flashlight down, or the security guard from the venue came over and took my friend and I to the area where the VIP was, and because they wanted us to be away from all that and be able to see, and I was able to get pictures with the boys, so that was cool. That was a cool experience. And
to add to that, sorry, I just had an idea, and this isn't, I think honestly, if I were in a wheelchair and I found myself in that situation, I would literally be wearing a t-shirt that said, trying to get to the after party, get out of my way. Or like some kind of like flag or something that I would just carry that's like get the message across, and then hopefully like the boys or security or somebody will see it and be my hero and escort me to the party.
And two, if you're like myself, if you're walking but you need a chair temporarily, chances are you're going to be escorted to your seat. You're going to climb the stairs. You're going to sit there and you're going to sit in your seat. And the usher is going to take your wheelchair or your crutches or whatever, walker or whatever in the back. You need to let the usher know, hey, I'm leaving before the last song ends. I need my wheelchair or my crutches or my walker so that I can be escorted out. It's very important to let them know that.
Okay, that is all great information. Thank you so much, Misty.
No problem.
All right, so I guess, we've kind of covered some of this stuff, people's butts in your ear and in your face rather, and then the unwanted lap dance. But what has been something that you wish hadn't happened at a show? That you wish had not happened at a show?
I think probably, I think probably the lack of understanding from staff or at any show, really, not just Vegas or any other show that I've mentioned. I think people have a hard time understanding that it's really difficult for people in wheelchairs or whatever to get around. And we're here to enjoy the show just like everyone else. And I think there needs to be a bit of a more understanding. And I would be very careful to say that people in wheelchairs get special treatment or whatever, because I don't think I do. And it may have been that way in the past for someone else, but I don't expect special treatment, and I think sometimes some of the experiences can be tainted. Um, some of the experiences can be tainted by, oh, I have to do this, or I have to make sure that, I'm not getting this attention or that attention just because I'm in a wheelchair. And I think people just need to have a little bit more understanding. And my experiences, all of the people that I've been with have been great and very understanding. And I think it's also really, I think it's really awesome that all the people that I've hung out with and gone to shows with have been very understanding, and everybody has always made sure that I've had a good time. But I think most recently when I went to Utopia, like I said, we were all crammed in pit, and that just wasn't a good experience for myself or the other people around, just because we were all crammed like sardines and they couldn't see because I was in their spot, or, that kind of thing. So It's just, I think there just needs to be more understanding on myself and everybody else's part when it comes to those kind of things. And also, it's really important for, these are some of the things that I've learned for myself. Know your limitations. Know what you can and cannot do. And know that who you're around too. Be aware of who you're around, where you're going, and pay attention to what you're able to do. If you're with a group of people in Vegas or wherever and you're doing multiple shows for the week, or know what you're able to do. Don't push yourself, and no pun intended, don't push yourself beyond the limits of what you're able to do. Know your limits, and, and trust people that you're with too, so.
To look out for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Bailey just sent me a question while you were talking, and she said, specifically for the outdoor venues. So I believe, because I didn't go to Qtopia. Let me be clear. And for you guys who aren't familiar with what Qtopia was, here in Atlanta, our probably the biggest radio station here is Q100. And in October of last year, they did a show called Qtopia. Backstreet Boys were the headliners. I think Flo Rida and Fergie and some other people that I did not care about were there.
Yeah.
And I actually was out of town during Qtopia. I missed it. But even if I had been in town, I'm not sure if I would have gone to that show. I've actually never been to one of the shows where the boys were just a headliner or were just one of the acts that were performing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wrap my head around the idea of being crammed in like that on my feet for that long. And I get how many songs did they do? Like maybe 5 songs?
Yeah, they did 5 songs. They did, I can't even remember the songs that they did. They did Larger Than Life and Everybody, and I couldn't tell you more than that at the moment. My brain is short-circuited. I need more coffee.
I'm sure they did. I want it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They did. Amber said that they did 10 songs.
Okay. Well, now I feel stupid for not going. But for 5 songs, I wouldn't have wanted to go. Yeah, she just sent me a message and said they did 10 songs. You're an idiot. No, she didn't. I added that part. But yeah, so for those people who didn't know about